Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we're still working in 2 Peter chapter 2, still dealing with false teachers or false teaching. And I want to backtrack just a little bit in that first paragraph of chapter 2. I'll start at verse 1. But false prophets also arose among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you who will secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the master who bought them, bringing upon themselves swift destruction. And many will follow their sensuality, and because of them, the way of truth will be blasphemed. And in their greed, they will exploit you with false words. Their condemnation from long ago is not idle, and their destruction is not asleep. Part I want to kind of refocus on for just a moment is that the way of truth will be blasphemed. And so the false teachers will be telling people basically what they want to hear in order to kind of line their own pockets or build their own esteem or popularity or whatnot. And we talked the other session about how, the truth will be blasphemed. And we talked about heresies in terms of kind of partial truth. But what I want to focus on here is that the way of truth will be blasphemed because of the false teachers and because of people listening to the false teachers. I want to put the emphasis on the way of truth. And I kind of think about it this way, that when you have a church leader, a Christian leader, or someone known as being Christian, and whether it's a pastor, whether it's a professor, whether it's a Sunday school teacher, but somebody that is known for being a Christian, for being a leader, and when they go astray, whether they're the ones that are kind of doing the false teaching or whether they've fallen, whether they've bought into the false teaching, when they go astray, what happens is that the whole way of truth, the whole way of Christianity, the whole way of following Jesus, that becomes blasphemed. That becomes, people scoff at it like, wow, if that's what Christianity is, who needs it? If that's what it means to be a follower of Jesus, count me out. And so we see the way of truth being blasphemed by false teaching. And again, I think of a couple different strands of false teaching. I think of kind of a prosperity gospel where you give the preacher money, you give the teacher money, and you're going to get rich. You give the church money and you're going to get rich. And then all of a sudden, you hear about some type of scandal where the teacher, the preacher, the church getting wealthy and everyone else getting broke. And again, that just brings all of Christianity, the way of truth, into disrepute, blasphemed. And then I also think in terms of the false teaching in terms of God wants you to be happy. And yeah, there's a little bit of truth in that, but God wants you to be happy and God knows what's best for us. And a lot of times that second part is left off. And we end up kind of thinking, oh, God wants me to be happy, and this is what it will take for me to be happy. And we end up doing all kinds of destructive things in the name of seeking happiness and God wanting me to be happy. And again, it's a false teaching that's easy to fall into because, you want to tell people what they want to hear. People want to think that they're being told what they want to hear. And of course, God wants me to be happy. And of course, that ends up with all kinds of messes, whether it's broken relationships, bad decisions, whatever. And then Christianity ends up looking bad. Like if that's Christianity, who needs it? And so I can just imagine Peter's concern about the false teaching and trying to alert his readers to it, and kind of this warning. And then kind of the next paragraph goes into the judgment of false teachers. And so let me read just a little bit further. So for verse 4, so 2 Peter 2:4, for if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. If he did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, herald of righteousness, with 7 others, when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly. If by turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes, he condemned them to extinction, making them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly. And if he rescued righteous Lot, greatly distressed by the sensual conduct of the wicked, for as that righteous man lived among them day after day, he was tormenting his righteous soul over their lawless deeds that he saw and heard, then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from trials and temptations, and to keep the unrighteous under punishment until the day of judgment, and especially those who indulge in the lust of defiling passion and who despise authority. Basically, Peter pulls some examples from the Old Testament of God judging those who are guilty and preserving those who are righteous. And his point is that we can be certain that God will bring the false teachers under judgment, that God knows how to rescue the righteous and bring judgment upon the guilty. And what this does is it gives a little bit of relief, I think, to Peter's readers. You can get worn out by false teaching, and you can get pretty discouraged if you feel like, wow, is there anybody that's speaking truth? Is there anybody that's living truth? And I can just imagine those readers, those believers, maybe frustrated, feeling like they've been inundated with false teacher after false teacher. And Peter's kind of saying, hey, stay focused. God's provided you everything you need in order to live life in a godly way. And still stay focused and don't worry about, God's job of judging. God knows how to save and God knows how to judge. And he knows how to save you. He's provided you everything you need. And so that, I think, is the word for today, that we can feel kind of inundated by false teaching, feel like the church is sinking because of false teaching. It's pretty easy to feel overwhelmed. And I think in the midst of that, we need to hear afresh, God knows how to save the righteous, and God has false teachers under condemnation, and the day of judgment's coming. And he has provided you everything that's necessary for life and for godliness through his divine power. And well, hang in there. Don't get too discouraged by false teaching. Stay focused on what the Lord has provided you, that you might live a godly life. God bless.